Hello and welcome to this episode of LMScast. I'm Chris Badgett with my co-host Joshua Millage, and we're joined by Kim Albee of a company called Genu with a product called WP Marketing Engine. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But this episode is all about how to support your product or your service business with online training. So perhaps your main business isn't necessarily selling courses, but rather they're a value add to some other kind of product or service. And Kim has done an exceptional job with that. We wanted to pick her brain and share her experience with you all. So to kick it off, Kim, I'll hand it over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. Well, my company is called Genu, and we've been around for a number of years, and we are just now launching a new product called WP Marketing Engine. And based on, we'll talk about that more, but what we wanted to do is support that product through a full user community and have really good training that was accessible for people, not only just about the product, but also about the whole domain of online marketing and things like that. So we started looking at how do we want to offer this training? And initially I thought maybe a membership site, because I'd heard so much about membership plugins and stuff. But then we started looking at the whole LMS world, and we did a lot of research, and we landed on LifterLMS, and we decided, all right, we're going to use Lifter, and we're going to offer training, but we want to do it in a way that isn't necessarily people pay for a course. Instead, we needed the training, but then we also had user guides that we needed to populate out, and we also wanted to have discussion forums, so we had a whole way to support our user community and let them interact with each other even. So so we came up with WP Marketing Engine user community and our membership site, and we then started looking at the APIs that Lifter has, and we love your API set, you guys. I mean, it is really nicely done. So
that's a hat tip to Mark Nelson, by the way.
Big time. Right. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to us.
Yeah, so we could literally start to look at how we wanted to integrate. So when somebody subscribes to WP Marketing Engine, which we're just now going through our launch, but when they subscribe, they'll automatically be created as a member within our member community, automatically with the same username and the same password. So we disabled the change password function in our community so that it has to happen from within their WP Marketing Engine subscription. So it's always kept the same.
That's awesome. So they buy the product and then they get the membership or they get access to the learning community, or the community of which learning is a part of.
Right, exactly. So you get your getting started training, and that getting started training is a whole class, and that's all inside of Lifter. So we can create our classes. And what's really cool is that we found out with some early users that we needed to order things a little bit differently in the getting started. And so we could just go into the lessons and reorder them. Really easily within Lifter, and it was like done. We didn't have to worry about it. It was like, okay, we'll just put that one up here and it won't matter. So we were able to do that. The other thing that blew people away is the ability to say, hey, I'm done with this lesson, and have it do a little check mark over on the right side so that you could actually, a user can see how far down they've gone. So they don't have to remember. It just shows up for them that way when they're in the site. So it's like, it's really, really pretty neat and slick in terms of them being able to see where they are in their training. And I think that that's not what's available a lot of places. We also pulled out the audio from our video in our training, and we put it up on our SoundCloud account. And then we pull it through. And so it's there available for you to listen to just as audio, or you can watch the video. So if people just want to listen, they can do that. So and then we also have some downloads every now and then. So in some of the classes we have downloads, and those are right underneath the audio so that people see it and it's all right there. But what we did was we said, we don't want to sell a class at a time. What we want is we have a set of classes that should just be available to everybody. And then we have a set of classes that we're calling our pro classes. And those have a value. And so with our first launch, we're going to offer them as a bonus. But then after that, people have to buy them. So we've got 2 now. We have 1 in the works that will be there shortly. By the end of the week, we have another one that'll be in our pro level training. But basically, it's really good stuff personally. But anyways, but you have to buy that. And so, but we didn't want to buy per class. We just wanted to unlock it at a level of training. So we can even come out with platinum level training if we wanted to, and have a whole nother series of training. So, because we think of training in littler snippets than, really long and in-depth stuff. So that's what we did. So we use it as a membership leveling. We use the membership levels in Lifter, and we tie those to say, for us, like on launch, we know what the bonuses are. So we've got that all hooked up so that you'll automatically unlock all the right stuff. And if you don't have that, then when you go to, like, say, the pro training, and you click on it, it's going to take you out to just an overview, and then there's going to be a thing called take this course or buy this course. So it just depends. And right now, see, you've got access to everything because you're a Conversion Pro member. That also supports the priority support is over on the right, and that only shows up if you have Conversion Pro or better, because then you can just enter your headline in and it goes directly over into our ticketing system, so you get priority support. Rather than having to go through the forum system, where we're going to get back to you later.
Just to jump in there, we are doing some screen sharing on this episode. So if you want to see the video version of this podcast, if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher, head on over to LMScast.com and you'll see the video version. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going, Kim.
No, that's okay. So we wanted to make it available to do priority support for people that were at our top level subscription, so that they can get something in there. We can get back to them within a couple hours as opposed to 24 or 48 hours. So we wanted to give people that level. That's another kind of bonus level of, buying the, what level you buy, and things like that. So, and then we have forums, and we stitched in BB Press and Buddy Press into this thing so that you actually have the ability to log your questions or whatever you want right within the forum, and then we can respond to that, and we have them set up in certain categories, and people will be able to answer them, and we'll have them notify our staff so that we can make sure that we get back to people and that we monitor that. But you have all of this, and it's all of this is using the Lifter membership levels. So we've got it all knitted in with the Lifter membership levels.
Well, let's talk about that knitting a little bit. What does your team look like? What does your custom development look like? Like, when did you need to do custom development? And one of the reasons I'm asking is part of our audience is more of the solopreneur just starting out. So They may not be ready for that, but they could hire some help to do some custom development to bring Lifter from I'm 85% happy with it to the 100% that I want in my vision. But how did you do it? What did you do custom development for, and what does your team look like?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so here's what we did. So we've got, we started out with a theme that we liked, and then we started looking at things, and we knew that because we're a software vendor, right? So we knew that when somebody orders our software, we had to make it really seamless for them into the community. So that was one level of integration. We needed to make sure that we could create them as the right kind of a user inside of our membership community. So, so that handoff happens, just integration from them purchasing a subscription package and setting up an account over into the membership community. So that was one piece we had to grapple with. The second piece was, based on the kind of user they are, what membership level should they have? And we had to make sure we could set that automatically. And then the membership levels, we can set up any training and say it's in this membership level. And if the user has that level, then you're good to go, right?
Right.
So that we don't have any trouble with. That was like great. And then we looked at the forums, and I believe we were going to have some priority forums, but we decided to go with a priority support instead. And we use Team Desk, or Teamwork Desk, not Team Desk, but Teamwork Desk.
Is that what gives you this form as well? Like, is that there?
No, we put that form in place. We put that in place. But then what happens is that actually formats an email that goes to support@wpmarketingengine.com that automatically goes into the inbox at Teamwork Desk. And then we all get notified, and we can work that ticket.
And that makes sense. So only people who have permission to see, or that membership level, can actually see this. So you're not getting requests from lower levels or people who haven't even bought yet. Those are different channels. That's a great organizational tool.
Right. And so that was one that only shows up because you guys have that Conversion Pro membership level. So that's one. And then we said, well, we've also got to have user guides and all of that. And user guides are open to everybody. So that's not under any sort of, it's on the base membership level, and that's content. Those are just content pages. You could call them blog pages, but they're not blogs. They're user guides. And then we also had a guy who wrote, so we have a guy who does all of our PHP integration and development work that does all the PHP side of WP Marketing Engine as well. And he knitted a lot of this together. Then we have another guy who can write all kinds of really great little JavaScripts and things like that. And that's what he wrote that comes up with the HTML table of contents over on the left. So it actually interprets the whole page and automatically generates, based on the H2s and H3s or whatnot, it generates that table of contents dynamically. And then it was all dynamic. And then I said, no, you got to put it out there. You got to actually write it out as HTML with anchor links. And so we did that because there was a couple of times where it was kind of weird. So I just wanted that all there so that it actually shows up that way. And then you have the little download icon, and that would download the PDF for you right there. So then we also have a PDF download associated with it, and that's just part of this whole content piece. So we did this as an extension of that theme. So we did a lot of theming and a lot of work on that side. And so I would say we have people who know how to do WordPress theming. We have people who know how to write JavaScript widget things. And then we have some people who know some really good integration, and that's to your REST APIs and all of that, which we have almost everything we need. I think there was something that we couldn't get, and I said, just email these guys. We'll be able to figure it out, I'm sure. And so that's stuff we talked about yet this week. But for the most part, we were able to put this whole thing together before I reached out, Chris, to you and said, hey, I'd love to show you what we did with Lifter.
That's awesome.
Because we are big fans of Lifter, and there's so much more we can do. We use the badges. We're looking at doing some other things and building maybe even a certificate sort of program, but that's a future that we're just still kind of brainstorming. But this so accomplishes our goal of supporting our users.
Well, you're doing something that's really cutting edge in my mind. And it's funny, I just recently heard an interview with a marketing trainer that I loosely follow, Eben Pagan, who talked about that he believes that all software companies should be selling premium support training and really info products alongside of their core offer of their core software offer. And there's a lot of just great business reasons, cash flow reasons.
Right.
In a lot of ways, he points it back to creating this mind share community. And I love to see how deep down that rabbit hole you've taken all of your training, and you've got a wonderful product. And this is just a beautiful implementation of Lifter. It makes me so happy. I can't even describe how happy I am because we built this with the idea of we're the foundation builder, but we don't know your company. We don't know, but we want to build that foundation so that people can take it to this degree. And I think this is the best example that I've seen so far of someone really taking Lifter to the max. So
well, what would be really fun would be to work out with you guys how to take something like this and make it easily available to those entrepreneurs that don't have the wherewithal to build this. Yeah. And I would love to figure out something like that with you guys, because that would be a gas to do. Because I know people would love to be able to do this, and sometimes it's just hard to get it done and get it done in a good way,
And that's the key word there is onboarding. It's one thing to build a product or some kind of service, but you have to onboard people. And that's what amazes me about what you're doing with WP Marketing Engine is you're reducing all that friction of getting started by, all the training, the guides, the access to support, cleanly laid out. You didn't try to jam it all in one long documentation. You've segmented that out in a very intelligent way. So it's really impressive. I think a lot of people, especially if they're in the product business, have a lot to learn about onboarding and the power of community with.
Well, here's the really fun part about this for me. So I'm a technologist / marketer, and I will tell you that the fun part for me is when we're able now, and we have this. So WP Marketing Engine and Lifter are completely integrated, right? So what happens is, as people look at classes, so say they onboard and they go into the getting started training. Okay, I know within my marketing engine, right, that they've looked at that class and that they've started that class. So I have it automatically logged in the marketing engine, right? So now I can trigger specific communications out to them about that training or about that class or something else they could download or whatever. So I can encourage them all the way through the training, and I know exactly where they are at any point in time. I can automate or trigger any communications to them with no matter what training they're in or when they start. So whether it's premium level training or just getting started training and all of that, there are things that I know about them that I can now use based on how they walk around and use. So I know when they create a new forum discussion, I know when they post to a forum discussion. So I can also send things like, emails that might be particular about that they did that action or they're participating. So I can encourage people to continue through a class. So maybe they've taken a class and now 3 days have gone by and they haven't really taken another lesson. I can now say, hey, in this lesson that you haven't yet taken, you're going to explore all these things. It's going to open up all these doors for you. So get back in there. Here's the link, and some stuff like that with WP Marketing Engine and somebody who has Lifter, the two things together can come automatically integrated.
It's amazing. I mean, that's Chris, that's been the banner we've been raising from the beginning is the education there needs to be that intersection between automation and education, scaling the human touch and doing it well. I mean, you could make it very robotic, but what you're talking about is really holding someone's hand in a digital fashion through a training. And the beauty of that is it's not that hard to do. It's way cheaper than it was even 2 years ago to do. And it's just good business because, we all know that at the end of the day, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. I mean, it's like a law of gravity. I mean, you can try and say it's wrong, but it's not, it's going to come back to haunt you if you fight that. So if you guide people through your base training and then through your next level, you can ascend them. And what you have here is premium levels down the road. So once you've built that trust and that goodwill and people are using the product, they're seeing results, they're getting theory and implementation at the same place, they're going to want to go to your next level. Right. And I think that's such something that I wish I saw more with so many technology companies, because I think that we talk about, people get so focused on just their core product, but you need to connect the dots for people and show them how it solves their problem now and in the future. And you can do that really well with courses and training and on what you're showing us here. So this is
absolutely. And that's my hope. I mean, our goal when we looked at our company and our vision for our company and everything else, it was to provide, comprehensive tools that allow tools and processes that allow small and mid-sized businesses to really grow their business. And to us, it's not just tools, it's process. And part of the challenge, I mean, if you look at this, you could call WP Marketing Engine basically a marketing automation platform, just like the ones that are out there that cost far more than what we're going to be charging, and similar capabilities, really. But if you look at the churn in that space, people who start with a product, switch to another vendor, switch to another vendor, switch to another vendor, all the vendors have essentially equal capabilities done slightly differently, right? And so you got to say, well, what's the problem? Well, you think the grass is greener on some other technology. The problem is typically with process and people not understanding what they need to do to implement to get the results they need. And so I think if the training for me is a really big piece, but we have to look at how do we hit the market for small business people, right? And how do we do that? And how do we offer really great training and support without the cost of picking up the phone every time somebody has a question? How do we bridge that hurdle? Because otherwise it becomes too expensive of a product to deliver and then you miss your market, right?
Right.
So we've worked really hard to try and figure out how can we do this? How can we put an offering out there that has terrific support and great training and everything else out there that will allow them to say, here's how I use the training, here's this philosophy, here's how I implement it, here's how we go, and I get support and the whole 9 yards. So we're trying this out. And so my goal and my hope is that we've hit it on this one, and that we're going to get that small business owner really using this as a marketing engine for their WordPress site.
Well,
that marketing.
Yeah, just a quick story. I actually had a call this morning with a gentleman who was a friend of one of our clients, and he was asking me about Infusionsoft. And I thought it was really interesting because one of the things he kept saying to me was, so when Infusionsoft gets my prospects, and I was like, does it just mean an opt-in? But he was literally thinking that Infusionsoft would go and manage like all the paid traffic to get him the conversion and then follow up. Like he was thinking, and I realized, I mean, I think that he was getting some bad information, of course. So I sat there for 20 minutes explaining to him, oh, no, like that's one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
But what I realized is Infusionsoft's not doing that. They're not providing that type of education.
Right.
So this gentleman who has a product doesn't even really know what it does. Well, he's going to be another data point in that churn number.
Right.
Because once he does realize that what he bought isn't really fitting into his business, he's going to move on. So it's really important to do what you're doing here, showing this is our product. This is how it connects to all these different pieces of the puzzle in your small business. People are going to go, okay, I get it. And now you have the opportunity. I don't know if you're going down that route, but maybe your premium training is a little bit around SEO or paid traffic or content marketing. I mean, there's so many.
Mostly right now, it's all about how do I grow my leads?
It's amazing.
So it's going to be content marketing. How do I grow my leads? How do I create really good calls to action, better than contact us and get you at the bottom of the funnel, which is where like that's all of 3 or 4% of your traffic. But what about the other 90? 7%. And so we want to attack that other 97%. So we've got some free training out there right now that preceding our launch, that basically walks people through this, that draws the picture and the puzzle and the kind of puts those pieces together of, look, this is how this works.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you need kind of thing. And so we've done some really fun training around that to kind of build that out. And we'll have that available also on this membership site. Once our launch is over, we'll move those videos into, the membership area so people can see them there too.
So Kim, tell us just a little more about WP Marketing Engine. Like, who's it for? Who's it not for? Like, what's the elevator pitch? What problem are you solving?
Yeah.
Hit us with that.
Okay, cool. So WP Marketing Engine is meant for companies that maybe 3 million or lower in revenue. You've got less than 15,000 leads. And what you want is you want a really easy way to create and generate leads, create great gated content. And gated content, what I mean by that is pop up a lead capture form and to stop access to something, and get their name and email before and add them to your database, your lead database, and then track everything about them. So understanding all of what you can have that isn't like an email service provider with a list. It's like having a lead database, and you now know they came back for this many visits, they've downloaded these items, they've taken these classes, they've, whatever. So we can show all that, and then you can trigger communications out to them using smart rules. And you can take actions and even notify people on your staff or what have you about things that are occurring. So you literally can take people from brand new lead, nurture them all the way through their buying cycle and turn them into a customer. And maybe you've had, and you may have touched them all this time, but you can automate that whole process. That's what WP Marketing Engine does. And it sits entirely inside your WordPress website admin. So you do all of this right inside your WordPress admin, and it doesn't add any big footprint to your hosting or anything else. You manage it all and access it all from right there, which makes it really straightforward for people managing their WordPress. So you can create calls to action and have a full call to action library. You create lead capture forms. We have a full dashboard. Email campaigns you can create smart rules. If you run webinars with GoToWebinar, we've got all kinds of really fun things there that you can also leverage. So it's a full featured automation marketing engine inside of WordPress.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, we've been working really hard. We're very excited about it.
That's cool. Well, where can people go if they're interested in learning more about WP Marketing Engine?
Well, right now, if they go to getwp.me, so it's a very short domain, but getwp.me, and you can opt in for our training. There's 3 training sessions and videos up right now. And on Thursday, we're actually going to launch your ability to purchase WP Marketing Engine at our very early access pricing that we're going to be offering. So it's going to be super advantageous to get in early and to help us spread the word. So that's what you'll get. And there's some really good video training in there. Video 2 has some skits even. I mean, it's fun.
That's awesome. And if this episode doesn't go out before, or it goes out a little later, should they still go here, or is there another URL to direct them to? WPMarketingEngine.com. So spelled exactly, WPMKTGengine.com would be the main website. That'll be up once we're fully up and available. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's do some, just go around the room and do some takeaways. What my big takeaway from this call is a lot of LifterLMS customers are adding a course to try to get another revenue stream on what they're already doing. But what if you did something like Kim has done here, where you add training as a value add to what your product is, and maybe have a premium level for deeper levels of training or access to support in order to help with your customer onboarding and retention and reduce churn and refunds and that kind of thing. It's a totally different strategy, but I'd encourage you to think about that if that might work for your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, my big takeaway, I think, is just the importance of creating a community around your product. I think people breeze over that in their business. They don't. We need it, and that's about the extent of the thought process. And I think, Kim, what you're doing, community you've seeded here with this amazing platform is really inspiring to us. And we've created Lifter, and I'm thinking to myself, how can we do a better job? What can we do? How can we execute better like you've done? So thank you for showing us this. I know that Chris and I will have probably a handful of conversations about what more we can do for our own community, but I would encourage people to really think about that. And I also want to encourage people to not get caught up in the fact that just because you're a software company, like, oh, this will only work for software companies, or this will only work for, I can see service businesses. I could see doctor's offices. I could see orthodontists. You name it. There's an opportunity to provide this type of training.
Yeah.
So I want people to really take a minute and get creative and think about how they can do something similar.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you guys, I'm available. I would love to brainstorm with you. Like, even what we've done, I would love to figure out how we put that make that available, that framework or whatever available to people who don't have the wherewithal to do all the building that we did, and still be able to leverage it with all that integration and stuff like that, so that they could have that, they could have Lifter, they could have WP Marketing Engine, and all together they'd have a full boat deal that they could just put their content in, build their classes, and fly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Cool.
That's
Very
awesome.
fun, you guys. Yeah, we love Lifter.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Kim. We really appreciate it. And again, if you are just listening to this, I'd encourage you to head on over to LMScast.com so that you can see the screen sharing video we were doing where we were walking through what we were talking about here today. But thank you all for watching, and thank you again, Kim, for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Kim. See ya.